hold on tight. The champ is here. Mikey is raising the roof. He is loving it.
Let's be real for a second.
Let's be real. I'm excited to be real today. Mikey, we're now explain yourself.
I don't hate Russell Wilson.
Todd hates T.Y. Hilton. I know why he likes Nick Foles. Do you know why? Because he scored 55 points against them in the championship game last year.
Running backs in Andy Reid's system is just fantasy gold mine. Sign me up there, man.
Yeah, and he's passing for 1,000 too, because his offensive weapons are shit.
Maybe. Oh my God. I can't even believe this, Eric. Todd comes out with some outlandish shit.
Come on.
But that one wins the night.
You deserve the torture of watching those games if you get them.
There's a problem with all those names. None of those guys are good.
Exactly. That's my point. That is 100% my point.
Hey. All I'm saying. Hey, I'm a very unique individual. You know, that's the.
I'm sure all the owners think so.
Oh, man. Just when I think that they're out, they pull me back in.
Welcome to our first weekly edition of the MHA podcast. We're excited to be here. We're excited to talk football, but man, how about those Nuggets? We see the Nuggets beat the Clippers in Game 7. How crazy is that? They're going to the Western Conference Finals.
It's freaking awesome. Love it. This team.
Tremendous accomplishment.
Yeah. This is
How
what
about
this
for
is
the
what.
Clippers, who in 50 years of an organization has never been to not unless a championship, but a Western Conference Final. 50 years.
That's amazing. There's been more no hitters in that stand than the Clippers being involved. But no, this is great. This is Nuggets are on the national stage now. This is to really keep proving a point that the Nuggets are a contender, and we're just it's not just the LeBrons of the world, So I'm psyched and I'm ready.
Yeah, well, we're also psyched. Go ahead, Miguel.
I was just going to say, maybe they should move the Clippers out of L.A.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
They don't have what it takes to stay amongst the other LA team. They got to find their own stadium too.
Yeah, their own identity.
Yeah, Anaheim maybe.
Oh well, there's no lack of locations in California. But let's talk about football. We were excited to have football back again. We're gonna try to do this podcast. We'll see if we can do it weekly, and let's try to keep it under 45 minutes. That seems to be the way we do it for over an hour. Seems to be a little bit long, but so we'll just go with it. But we had football. It all started off with Kansas City. And so was it weird to kind of see just quickly how I mean, it was great to see football actually happening. And there was some fans in the crowd. But, I mean, did it feel different to you guys at all watching that Thursday night game?
Yeah. I mean, not the sound of, like, even if, the stadium being full, you can still kind of feel that energy and stuff even through the TV, because they have to bring in some outside noise and everything like that to kind of, they said, decimals, it can't be past 70 decimals or something like that. But no, I mean, it's still football, but I mean, definitely it's a little different. But that's what we were expecting. I mean, now they're going to slowly try to bring in fans, more fans as the season goes on, if they can, if everybody does what they're supposed to do. And
what do you think, Miguel?
For me, it was weird at first, but I got to admit, like, once I started, like, getting down to watching the game, like maybe 10 minutes in, and you're just focusing on the action, like, I really didn't notice it the rest of the way.
Yeah, I agree. You didn't really see too much about it. Even those moments where if they had like a close-up at the goal line, you could see kind of the background and there's not a lot of people, I don't think it was still like jarring. I think it was just cool to have football. So let's try to get in some news. I mean, for most people, they probably know, if you're following fantasy, you probably know all these news. So I'll go through these quickly, and you guys can tune in or say something if you'd like. But some guys like Blake Jarwin, he tore his ACL, a tight end that was high up on fantasy owner. Some of the owners or experts, I should say, he's out for the season. Marlon Mack, he also tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. Some other injuries. We saw Michael Thomas, who's dealing with a high ankle sprain. That could be a couple weeks. I heard that the team were kind of suggesting that he would go on the IL, which is at least 3 games. He's trying to be ready for the next one, so that's kind of scary. Other news, Henry Ruggs has a leg injury. James Conner, an ankle. George Kittle, he had a knee. No one knows what's going on with Justin. I think Justin Jackson's a leg injury. Le'Veon Bell dealing with a hamstring. That could be a couple weeks. Did I miss anything? Does any of those things scare you at all?
Everything. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not surprising, right? It's week one. It's kind of a preseason game with me saying that in quotes. So people are still going to get used to real time action. So hopefully, I mean, there's a couple that are serious, but what are your takes on those? Anybody can talk.
I feel bad. Marlon Mack, I mean, that's out for the season. That one hurts a little bit, especially for Aaron, whose running backs like weren't, you know, that deep to begin with. Michael Thomas, I mean, that potentially could be big. I mean, you're talking about a guy that went in the first round, depending on how long he misses.
Right.
That could be big. And of course, for me, Kittle,
Yeah, you had high hopes for him.
I still do. I mean, it's a knee sprain. They're going to see how it goes. I haven't decided how I'm going to treat that this week, but we'll see.
All right. Any other news that I missed, or is that pretty much it?
I mean, I guess too, the Broncos are being very cautious too with Sutton, so that actually
True.
might
Yep,
might be into a positive. I mean, at least for me, because I drafted Sutton pretty high. So I mean, I think the Broncos were smart with that. Us being Broncos fans, we were kind of like, okay, it's fine, don't force it because we really do need him. Because obviously in that Monday night game, it showed a little bit, the fact that Sutton does make a little bit of difference. So yeah, I think that was smart on the Broncos to keep him, keep him out for one more because we got the Steelers next week. So need all the firepower we can get.
For sure. Okay, just quickly going through the standings here, maybe some of the games. This is week one, so Lion Rip, despite his injury, Marlon Mack came out with the highest point total, 172 to Joe at Kilgore Trout, who had 96. So a big day for Lion Rip. Gonzo Cats now 1-0 after defeating Belt Sanders 129 to 114. We'll get back to that game, I'm sure. How about NWA and Josh Jacobs defeating Kevin Eaton W's 147 to 112. Cooper Cousins, who wasn't there for his draft, came out, eked out a win, really 119 to 110 over CUP. And maybe the matchup of the weekend, just because it was Todd and Mikey going against one another. Todd squeezes out a victory 136 to 118. Bye week scored 134 points, Miles, but unfortunately yours truly with 161 points. Do you guys want to talk about your matchup real quick? And Mike, you obviously talked about the Kittle thing, but who stood out on your team there, Todd?
Obviously, I mean, I knew Brady. I knew it was going to be a little. I knew it was going to be a little rusty. But hey, 46 points. You can't laugh at that. Running backs. I mean, I know Jones got that late touchdown. Gotta love those late garbage touchdowns. But kind of interesting, and maybe it would have been an interesting, just kind of like not board bet, but just a bet right off the bat. Who was going to score the first touchdown of the NFL season? And we were thinking, with being Kansas City, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Olaire or Mahomes, but David Johnson, and now it looks like with Duke Johnson being hurt, I want, David Johnson, like he has to worry too much about it. I think they want to get him more involved.
Mikey, a little underwhelming from Drew Brees. I mean, you saw it was the second game, or was like in the second section of games. Are you worried about Drew Brees going forward, or was this kind of an anomaly?
No, I don't think it's a huge deal. Tampa's got a pretty decent defense. I mean, they rushed the passer really well.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of locking up those receivers. I mean, yeah, I mean, it was not one of Breeze's best performances. I expect better, and I think I will get better the rest of the year.
They have Las Vegas on Monday night, so Drew Brees loves to excel on the big stage, so that might be a good rebound for you. Let's talk about some of the. We'll start with Mikey. Give me one of your top performers from this past weekend.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, who'd have thunk that? Todd thought of it. Todd was
I did.
MVP
caliber season, but yeah, continue, Miguel.
Yeah, I mean, and who would have thought, they'd put up 43 points on Minnesota, who everyone thought was a pretty decent defense. But I think what you saw was in the offseason, Minnesota lost Everson Griffin, who went to Dallas, and they lost Danielle Hunter, who was hurt. Xavier Rhodes is gone at the corner.
Yeah.
Their defense, it's not the same as it once was. I mean, they only hit and touched Aaron Rodgers twice in that whole game, didn't sack him once. Wow. So he pretty much just did whatever he wanted. It's amazing.
Well, thank goodness that his 70 points was on my opponent's bench, or that might be a different game for sure. Rodgers, 32 completions, 4 passing touchdowns, 364 pass yards. So interesting to see if we see that going forward. Todd, give me a top performer.
I'll go with Devontae Adams. Jeez, maybe the Packers need to tell Aaron Rodgers they're going to draft a quarterback every single week. But Devontae Adams, knowing him and Aaron Jones only options really to throw the ball to, and Jesus, he went off 2 touchdowns, 14 receptions, 156 yards. My God and mercy. Like I said, him and the other one, Hopkins. I mean, Jesus, mother God, they're. Adams might actually get 20 touchdowns. Might get 20 touchdowns this year.
Yeah, Adams had 17 targets. Mikey, from what we talked about, run heavy, defense, was just a perfect matchup versus Detroit, or do you think we'll see a lot more offensive fireworks from this Green Bay offense?
I think it was more matchup based. You saw during the game, they did a pretty good job against Green Bay's run. You know, Jones got a touchdown late, but for the most part, they held him in check the entire game. Or kind of forced them to try and throw the ball.
Yeah, I agree. We'll kind of see how it goes. See how it goes for, bye week, and see if they decide he wants to put him in next week. That would be quite the interesting decision, considering 70 points from someone. My top performer, I mean, there were so many great performances. I love what Josh Jacobs did. I liked him coming in, and just to see him catch passes was incredible. But, man, it's hard to look at Russell Wilson's stat line and not be super impressed. He had 31 completions on 34 attempts.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, and here's the funny thing about that. I know, just like you read that sharp book, they talked about how good Seattle could be if they would just throw the ball on early downs, on first down. In that game, they threw the ball on 17 out of 28 first downs.
Wow.
So obviously they're getting the message, how effective they can be if they just decide to do that. So that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, 31 completions. It was actually 35 attempts. So he had as many touchdowns as he had incompletions. 69 points, so just 1 point behind Aaron Rodgers. A lot of high scores. Josh Allen throwing for his first 300-plus yard game. He had 64 points. Kyler Murray was running all over the place. Just 26 completions, but had 91 rush yards and a rush TD to go along with the pass. I'll have to thank Matt Ryan and send him a bouquet of flowers for his 65 points. It wasn't looking good, but Aaron patted me on the shoulder during the day. Go, don't worry, those garbage points are coming. And boy, did they come a lot in that fourth quarter. How about you guys give me a performer that was underwhelming, or a guy maybe you expected to do well, or someone that stood out that just blew their pants. They were so terrible.
Let's say Cooper Kupp a little bit. I mean, because obviously you and Mikey did the trade for Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp. I know during the wide receiver podcast you were raving about Cooper Kupp, but 4 receptions for 40 yards. Not the Cooper Kupp that we've seen in the past before. I mean, obviously Robert Woods got more targets there. So yeah, Cooper Kupp. I would say Cooper Kupp for you. I mean, can't go back, but it's that
Sure.
I was just surprising on that one. But it's let's put it this way: with all the stats and everything like that, the way this off season was rust. And that was kind of the thing that kind of sums up a lot. I mean, yeah, there was big performances, but rust. So Cooper Kupp is still viable, obviously, and make up for it. But just in this game, yeah, not the Cooper Kupp of old.
No, it was interesting though. I mean, their offense ran just fine. I just think they were trying to get the ball out so quickly, and it was just more dip and dunks, and they ran the ball pretty well. They had long drives and just didn't give Cooper Kupp a lot of chances. Robert Woods, I mean, he didn't have a touchdown, 6 catches, 105 yards, and 8 targets. So a great day considering some. But I think things will open up for them. I think Dallas is tough. They pass rush really well. Mikey, give me an underwhelming performance that you noticed.
Easy for me, it's Michael Thomas. I mean, you talk about.
Can you really bang a guy that got hurt though?
Yeah, but he got hurt on like the last drive of the game.
Okay.
So he pretty much played the entire game healthy. and he only had 3 points. I mean, this was a guy that only twice last year did he finish under, 10 points, and he hasn't had as low as 3 points since October 15th of 2017. So you're talking about a guy that's been so consistent, and then he just drops an egg. It's pretty
Yeah.
bad.
Definitely does not help. I mean, you draft a guy, and I'm sure Aaron, who ended up having Hopkins and Adams, who both had incredible days. He was so excited that Thomas almost fell to him, and I'm sure he would still take him today. But it's just interesting how that kind of pans out. One guy that stood out to me was Nick Chubb, who 5 points, 10 attempts, not a lot of attempts, 60 yards. Now I know a lot of that is probably game flow, but just one catch, and if you, obviously a big concern was the kind of the running back by committee, the split between him and Kareem Hunt. And Hunt had 13 carries, which was 3 more than Chubb. He had 72 yards rushing. Chubb, I think, also lost a fumble. Yeah, he also lost a fumble.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, for a guy who went in the first round, maybe Hunt's a little more a thorn in the side than we thought.
Yeah, they were pretty much doing 50-50 split after Hunt came back last year, because when it comes to the passing game, they're just not going to have Chubb out there. So if they get down in a game like they did on Sunday, you're just not going to see him. It's going to be Hunt.
Yeah.
Which is
Hunt's
crazy to
better
me,
at it.
just because Chubb can catch the ball and run with it, but I guess they feel more confident in Hunt. And that's something you can't control, and that's something that's going to stink. And based on what we saw from Cleveland, we might be seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham's another guy we could talk about who went early and did not perform very well. Before we go to the Doe move of the week, is there anything else you guys want to mention, whether it's bad or good?
I mean, there was a lot of running backs that are kind of bad. I mean, look at Mark Ingram had 2 points. Joe Mixon had 5 points. Leonard Fournette had 1 point. I mean, there's a lot of stinky performances from running backs in week 1.
Yeah.
Before I'll just say I liked what I saw from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He didn't catch any passes, but he looked pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Move and it gave him goal line carries. He didn't get a lot of those goal line carries in, if I'm not mistaken. I've watched so much football, which is great to say. But man, to have 19 points, 138 rush yards, that's impressive for a rookie. And I was kind of on a detractor to say that he's probably not worth the first round pick, but in that offense, I guess running backs are going to get their share.
How about Gronk? 2 points?
2 points. Yeah. I mean, but that's more. But Gronk's been out of football for like a year, and then plus,
Here it comes.
I know
He's going to be the safety outlet. He's the guy. You can rely on him.
Brady was a little rusty. Hey, I admit when I'm wrong, okay, and I'm wrong a lot.
So you're already jumping off Tampa Bay's bandwagon?
Oh, no, I'm just saying in this game. He was,
Well, let me ask you: are you guys concerned? I mean, you two were pretty high on him after seeing 1 week of Tampa Bay football with Brady and Gronk and the rest of that crew. Are we concerned? On a scale of 1 to 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being overly concerned and 1 being less concerned.
about a 3.
1.
About a 3.
Okay.
They'll get better as they go.
Yeah, they have to. Brady's not going to allow them not. I mean, there's no way. Brady, if that was the case, Brady would retire right on the field right there, and like that. The rest of the team's not. They know what they need. But it is.
All right. So in terms of, I don't know if this is a contest, but we're going to try to do the benched player of the week or the Doe move of the week for those who appreciate at least the early Simpsons episodes.
Doe!
But is there? This has got to be a clear-cut winner in my book. Anybody else have something? What do you think is the answer?
Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, it's Ridley. It is Ridley 100%.
Cool. 27 points. Oh, good Lord. Oh my God.
For a guy that was drafted and it features the Belt Sanders and Gonzo Cats, and it was 129 to 114. Gonzo Cats take the win. Instead of playing Ridley, who ended up having 29 points, which would obviously put Belt Sanders over Gonzo Cats for the win, he decided to go with Julian Edelman. Now, I believe he drafted Julian Edelman first. But then I always forget this dude's name. Hardman from Kansas City ended up just picking up 1 point, and he went with Emmanuel Sanders, who had 9 points. So yeah, that's definitely the whoops, screwed that up move of the weekend. I think we all liked Ridley and what he brought to the table, especially in this offense. Is going to throw a lot. And Ridley, according to this, has 27 points. Maybe something changed from what I had, but he ended up having 27 points, 2 touchdowns, 9 receptions, 130 receiving yards. That Atlanta offense is going to be juicy this year.
Oh my god! I mean, I didn't have to even that hurt.
It was incredible to me. All 3 of their receivers, Jones, Ridley, and Gage, 12 targets. All 3 had 9 catches. All 3 were over 100 yards. It's pretty damn good.
So nice to have Matt Ryan on my squad, to say the least. Just looking over the Belt Sanders team, he actually drafted Calvin Ridley first in the 4th round. Then it was Edelman in the 5th round, Sanders in the 7th, and I guess he was excited to get the Kansas City game going as he had Hardman in the 8th round. So, obviously you don't want to kind of judge a person based on the draft because the matchups change, but to have Ridley as your 4th overall pick and not put him in, hey, we'll see if he puts him in next week. Keeping on with the show here, we kind of talked. Was there any surprises? Did we already talk about that in essence?
I don't think.
Yeah.
Well,
for me, Josh Allen was surprising.
There you go.
Yeah. That's a big one. 33 completions, 312 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, ran for 57 yards, and also added a rushing touchdown. I don't know if you'll get that every week, but that's impressive.
No, he had 46 attempts. That's the most of his career. So unless they're changing something, and maybe they are, because adding Stephon Diggs, maybe they're trying to become more of a passing team, but I don't know. Seemed like an outlier for me, but I mean, he was great.
Yeah, right. Underlying one, and this probably may not happen. Happen every single week, and who knows? But Adrian Peterson, 13 points. Dude rushed for 93 yards, had a couple catches. Now I get Detroit; they've got 3-headed monster, and I know, like you always say, committees. If you have 3 running backs, you have none. But it's kind of interesting. I mean, is he gonna rush for that many yards every single week? No, but
I'll bank on those rush yards over those passing yards.
There you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I figure he's a guy that he likes to run. I could see him getting more closer to 50 is difficult, but I'd almost bet that he'd get 50 rush yards over 300 pass yards, unless they totally change what they like to do over there in Buffalo. But I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I guess I found surprising, but maybe I shouldn't, is I like to watch trends. And everybody talks about how good San Francisco's defense was last year and how good they are this year. But then I took a look, and they seem to have problems with like the elite of the elite receivers, where they not only, score points, but they go off like Hopkins did this week. I mean, before this, here's look at these performances. NFC Championship, Devontae Adams, 9 catches for 138. Julio Jones, when they played the Falcons, 13 catches, 134 and 2 touchdowns. Before that, Michael Thomas, 11 catches, 134, 1 touchdown. When it comes to the elite of the elite, pay attention if San Francisco's playing them. They get rocked.
Interesting. That's amazing stats there. And so so are we the number 1 guy in New York Jets? That's who San Francisco has next week. So who is that? Is it Robbie Anderson? I don't even know who their top guy is.
The Jets?
Yeah.
Crowder.
There you go, Jamison Crowder. Perfect. He's on my bench. Won't get played, but if you guys need somebody, hit me up. I'll hook you up. One that stood out to me. Oh, the other thing I was going to say was Kevin eating W's. I went to his team just to see, because I knew he had Josh Allen, but he also has Dak Prescott. And at the current moment, he has Josh Allen in his starting lineup over Prescott. Allen plays at Miami. Dak Prescott versus Atlanta. So we'll keep an eye on that. One last thing I'll say about the surprise performance was Austin Eckler. I mean, he had 9 points because he rushed for 84 yards, but he only had 1 target. So I wonder, and this kind of goes back to what Mikey was talking about with Tyrod Taylor, is maybe they're not going to chuck the ball 30, 35, 45 times a game. And that's going to be Austin Eckler's fantasy, because he's better as a pass catcher than he is a rushing. I mean, he did well in he had 84 yards rushing, but I mean, that's not the norm for him.
And he didn't even get a touchdown either, because they gave the goal line to Joshua Kelly or whatever. Yeah. And
yeah, it's a product of Phillip Rivers. All of a sudden, Naheem Hines looked like Austin Eckler. Isn't that something?
Hines, 24 points, 28 rushing, but he had 8 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. And he's on someone's team. He's not even free agent wire, because he's on Dylan's team. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Dylan. So we'll see if he puts him in next. How are you feeling about, Mikey? You're the lone team amongst these 3 that lost. Is there something? Are you looking to the? You don't have to tell you if you're who you're looking for, but are you looking to the waiver wire? Are you looking to make trades? How are you feeling about your team?
I still feel okay. Like, I feel like my team scored almost 120, and that was with Drew Brees having a terrible game. Kittle didn't get targeted in the second half, and I was missing Miles Sanders. So, like, for me, I'm not looking at like really making any sort of big rash moves after week 1. Like, I believe that the team that I drafted is a really good team. And I mean, I'll look at the waiver wire to see if I can build depth at positions, because of injuries or whatever. But no, I mean, I feel good going into week 2.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey's got bench guys. I mean, Malcolm Brown had 23 points. If Miles Sanders isn't back, he didn't have Miles Sanders. Do you feel good about AJ Green and what he did in his first game back in quite a while?
Yeah, I mean, considering he wasn't playing like a full workload, I mean, he seemed to develop. I think he had like 9 targets from Burrow, so that's a good sign. And he gets to play Cleveland this week, who he always destroys throughout his career. So he's tempting me whether or not to play him this week. That's for sure.
Like Thursday, you're not a big fan of playing players on Thursday night.
Yeah.
It depends on the player. It depends on who it is.
It is, but yeah, I mean, it's Cleveland and they need him. So, I mean, it's going to be a decision I have to make.
And he won't let us know. we won't see it until game start. He's got his lineup in. Just looking over, I mean, and you guys could spout off anything you want. I thought it was interesting. I mean, we talked about Seattle and their pass offense. Chris Carson, you wonder. I mean, he had 2 receiving touchdowns that kind of saved his day, but man, they did not run the ball well. I did not get to see the Pittsburgh Giants game. Is Pittsburgh's defense that good, or was the Giants offense that bad?
Yeah. Giants
they are against the run.
Yeah, they shut down Saquon Barkley pretty good. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to tell because Saquon's gonna figure it out. But Pittsburgh's defense is. I mean, T.J. Watt is a beast, and their secondary is okay too. I mean, they did get burned a little bit on some passes. Slayton, it's on Aaron's bench. He got 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh defense is pretty good, and Ryan will definitely have their work cut out for them when they go there next week, or this week. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
How did Big Ben look? I heard it was a slow start, but then picked it up later. So, are we feeling good about him and being a fantasy threat once again?
Yeah, I think it was nervousness. Like, he did start slow, but it was almost like he was kind of unsure of himself for the first quarter, and then he kind of got into a groove, and he's like, "Oh, okay, starting to feel myself again." And
yeah,
he's a pretty cocky guy, so once he gets going, he doesn't stop.
Yeah, it was a lot of dunk passes and everything like that. Not so much check downs, but just a lot of dip and dunk passes to kind of get him going and everything like that. Which, I mean, we'll take it. So that's kind of what I saw from saw at the beginning of it. So it works.
You saw Juju with Ben, very good.
Yeah.
Juju without Ben, very bad.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns for Juju and James Washington, who didn't really get mentioned in the kind of the off season, at least because everybody was on the Deontay Johnson. Is that his name? Deontay Johnson?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Deontay Johnson train, which Todd can tell you about. But so I mean, other than Connor going out, I mean, that looks like that offense might be back on track.
Yeah, Benny Snell looks like he's. I mean, if Connor's out for a little bit, then Benny Snell once again on Aaron's team. Jesus and Christ.
Some folks just know how to draft.
Apparently, that's it. That's what you got to do. But yeah, I mean, and Deontay Johnson was interesting because, reminded me because the first, because he usually returns punts for them and got a fumble. I was like, oh God, dang it, freaking fumble! But Big Ben kept going to him, and he got 11 targets, and ended up with 6 receptions for 57 yards. So,
just looking ahead before we get out of here, next week, Lemonheads will take on Gonzo Cats, a couple of 1-0 teams. Tamales is going to take on Josh Jacobs and NWA. Looks like that's going to be a high-scoring game. Butterfingers taking on Kevin 0-1. Bye week, 0-1 taking on 0-1 Kilgore Trout. We'll see if Joe can rebound in a big way. Cooper Cousins, who's 1-0, will take on the highest scoring team from this past week, and Aaron and Lion Rip, and then Belt Sanders, who's 0-1, will take on 0-1 Notorious CUP. So one of those teams are going to go down 0-2. So week 1 in the books. It's got to be exciting. Didn't have a lot of COVID problems, and hopefully things will stay pretty sane for the most part.
Yeah.
Go Nuggets.
Yeah.
Nuggets start Friday. Should be good.
Taking on the Lakers. LeBron and the Lakers. Should be exciting. But we're happy football's back. So, guys, thanks for jumping on here for about 45 minutes. Knocking this thing out. I'll have this out by Wednesday morning, and then we'll all be picking up our waiver wires. I don't think that's one thing we're going to talk about on the show. It's such an important thing. None of us are going to give our secrets away. So, just to let everybody know. You won't be hearing that on the show. For Todd Diamond, Mike Renault, I'm Eric Lansing. We'll see you hopefully next week on the MHA podcast.